Shavua Tov, Agutavoch, and welcome to our program. The name of the Shabbos is Shabbos Nachamu. Why Nachamu? Because of the Haftarah of the Shabbos. Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami. So it's Shabbos Nachamu. The obvious question is, it could have said, arguably, Nachamu Ami, Nachamu Ami. Then we're talking about two comforts. Nachamu Ami one, Nachamu Ami another one. The name of the parsha, the name of the Haftarah, the beginning of the Haftarah rather, is Nachamu Ami. So there's a question: is this one comfort, or is this two comforts? If it would be two, it should have said arguably Nachamu Ami. And if it's only one, then why does it say Nachamu? It could have said Nachamu Ami. That is one of the questions. The other question that Rebbe asks, that the Yalkut Shimeni mentions, he talks about the Nachamu Ami. Why does it say two times? And he says, Olefishe mitzveisehoch fulois, nechameisehoch fulois. Why is the Nechama two times? Because the mitzvahs are double. Because the mitzvahs are double, the comforts are double. And the Rebbe says, what? The mitzvahs are double? The Rebbe uses the expression, mitzvahs, mantachadashmon. Who is talking about mitzvahs here? Now, don't get us wrong, mitzvahs are a wonderful thing. But here you're talking about comfort. You're talking about if she transgressed double, she was punished double, and she's comforted double. But how do mitzvahs get into here? But the Yalkut Shimeni says, Ulefishe mitzvah chfulos, because her mitzvahs are double, and because of that, nechameseho chfulos. Because of that, and it has not, and according to the Yalkut Shimeni, arguably, it has nothing to do with the sins. The mitzvahs are doubles, and the comforts are doubles. How do you reconcile that? We will return to that in a moment. But first, our customary story. I heard the story from a friend of mine who heard the story from a Satmar Chassid with whom this story happened. And this Satmar Chassid has two sons and a daughter. The names of the sons are, the first son he named Yoel, and the second son he named Menachem Mendel. Now he's a Satmar Chassid. And why would he name? The first name he named Yoel, we understand. Yoeli. And the second son, Menachem Mendel. So he told my friend the story. After the first son was born, they had a daughter. When the daughter was born, from the moment she was born, her fists were closed, were clenched. And it's not a good sign. We should know from it. It's either a Down syndrome child. It's a special child. There's a problem. He went to doctors, all kinds of doctors. He went to Rabbonim. He went to Rebbes to ask for brachas. Nothing helped. Until somebody told him one day, you know, the Lubavitcher Rebbe is giving out dollars every Sunday morning. Why don't you go over to Eastern Parkway? You stand on line. He says, I'm a Satmar Chassid. He says, people come there, all kinds of Chassidim, all kinds of Jews, some non-Jews. It's open for everyone. And no one is going to suspect that you are going to become a Satmar, a Lubavitcher Chassid if you are going to go for $1. He wasn't convinced. But he wanted a refuah shlema for his daughter. So one day he decided he's going to go. So he goes for dollars. He stands in front of the Rebbe. He doesn't tell the Rebbe the whole story. He tells the Rebbe he needs a refuah shlema for his daughter. The Rebbe takes another, without details, the Rebbe takes another $1, and he says to him, take this $1 and put it in your daughter's hands. He came home. He took the dollar. He put it in her hand. She opened her hand. She took the dollar, and she squashed the dollar. And since then, she opened her hands and she used her hands like a normal child. After this, he had a child, a boy, after Gimel Tammuz, and he named the boy Menachem Mendel. As mentioned, I heard the story from my friend, who heard it from the South Melech Chosid, with whom this story happened. Rabbi say, there's a question on the table. Nachamu, Nachamu Ami. Be comforted, my people. And it doesn't say Nachamu Ami, Nachamu Ami. So the obvious question is it one comfort or is it two comforts? If it's two comforts, it should have said arguably Nachamu Ami, Nachamu Ami. If it's one comfort, then it should say Nachamu Ami. The other question is, the Yalkut Shemeni says, Ulefi shemitzvei seach kfulis, nechamei seach kfulis. Because the mitzvahs are double, excuse me, the comforts are double. Now it all comes, the Yalkut Shemeni mentions it, that lokso b'kiflaim, that she was punished double. And that's a posuk. Ki lokso miyad Hashem kiflaim, she was punished double. And this is why we find in the scroll of Echo, that scroll of lamentation, where it says, Bochoi sivke balaylo, that it's a double meaning of crying. So what happened was, she sinned double, she cried double, she got punished double. And again, the obvious question is, she got punished double. Why did she get punished double? Almighty God tries to be lenient and merciful. So now he punished her tziyin. He punished double. And even if she sinned double, God in his mercy should have punished her once. Besides the fact that we don't know what it means she sins double. If sins double means that she sinned once and then she sinned again, then of course you sinned once and you get punished, then you sin again, you get punished again. So we have to understand this whole matter. And the Rebbe explains the number one, but we see from the language employed here, Nachamu Ami, that we're not talking about two comforts. We're talking about one comfort. Why? Because if it would be two, it would have to say Nachamu Ami. So we are talking about one comfort, but that comfort is a double. That one comfort is a double comfort. And this is why it says Nachamu, which is double, Ami on one. And it doesn't say Nachamu Ami, it says Nachamu Ami, one double comfort. Still, we have to understand what that means. So the Rebbe explains that we are comforted on the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, on the Churban of the Beis Hamikdash. The Beis Hamikdash was double. Begashmius uveluchnius. What was destroyed is what we saw with our eyes. A physical structure was destroyed. But the Beis Hamikdash is not a physical structure, however beautiful. Whoever did not see the structure of the Beis Hamikdash never saw a beautiful structure. But that's not what the Beis Hamikdash was. The Beis Hamikdash was not just a structure. In the Beis Hamikdash there was spirituality. In the Beis Hamikdash there was nisim. So therefore the Beis Hamikdash was a fusion of two things, of Gashmias and Ruchnias and Gashmias. That was the Beis Hamikdash. Churban Beis Hamikdash Rachmana litzlan does not mean that only the Gashmias of the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed. Yes, we mourn the Gashmias, the physical destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. That's what happened on Tisha B'Av. But there was more than physical destruction. It was the spiritual destruction as well. Now we don't have a Beis Hamikdash. We don't have a place to bring korbanos. We don't have a place to become closer, Ishki Yakariv Mikem, to become closer, because it's not even only a korban that we bring. We put ourselves on the altar. We become closer. And we do not have that. So therefore now, the Binyan Beis HaMikdash was a double Binyan, Gashmias and Ruchnias, spiritual and physical and spiritual. And also the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash was physical and spiritual. Now, what the Rebbe is saying, if one is going to ask a question, where do you get this double matter from? Says the Yalkut Shimeni, if you're going to ask me a question, how did you get good double? Why was she punished double? The answer is, I will give you, for instance, that double does not mean 2 times. Double is the same thing, but it's in a double fashion. Like, for instance, like a mitzvah. Mitzvah seoch fulis. The mitzvahs are double. And one is going to say the mitzvahs are double. There's one mitzvah of Shmir Shabbos, and then there's another mitzvah of Shmir Shabbos. The same mitzvah. One mitzvah of lighting candles for all the women and the girls, and then there's another mitzvah. What does mitzvah seoch fulos mean? And the answer, the Rebbe says, the same thing as we said before about the Beis HaMikdash. It's one mitzvah, but it's a double mitzvah. It's a mitzvah begashmias, and it's a mitzvah beruchnias. The mitzvah is performed 2 ways, and Alter Rebbe explained it in Tanya. There's a mitzvah b'lei kavono, that a mitzvah has to have 2 parts, the gashmias part and the ruchnias part. The gashmias part, the physical part, is actually doing the mitzvah, taking the tefillin and putting them on, lighting the candle in a physical way, a physical candle with fire, lighting it yourself. But there, what happens is also 2 things. It's the physical part of the mitzvah, and then there's the spiritual part of the mitzvah, the love of the mitzvah, the enthusiasm of the mitzvah, the kavanah of the mitzvah. Now, one can do only the physical part. But the Alter Rebbe already says in Tanya, mitzvah b'lei kavono keguv b'lei neshama. A mitzvah without kavona is like a body without a soul. Now, a body without a soul is also a body. And without getting too technical, the difference between a body that's alive and a body that's not alive is only the spirit. A body that's alive has the spirit. A body that's not alive is because the spirit is no longer there. And the spirit returns to Almighty God who gave it in the first place. So therefore, a human being is also a fusion of both things, of Gashmias and Ruchnias. It's the physical body. Within the physical body, there's a spiritual neshama. A mitzvah is a fusion of Gashmias. Mitzvah seoch fulis. Take the mitzvah, any mitzvah you want. Take the mitzvah of benching esrik. The gashmi is part of the mitzvah. You take the lulav and the esrik and you shake it. You make a bracha and you shake it. And the ladies like to give it like a good shake. But that's only the physical part of the mitzvah. The spiritual part is the asher kedeshonu b'mitzvahs of knowing I'm connecting, I'm doing a mitzvah because Almighty God told me that. The love, the spirit, the enthusiasm that comes with the mitzvah. The father asks 2 children to bring him a glass of tea. Not at the same time. He asks one, and he's tired, and he says to himself, come on, Dad. He doesn't say it, but he thinks it. I got things to do. What do you think, I have a whole day here to spend with you? But this father wants a glass of tea. So reluctantly, he takes his time. He goes to the kitchen and he puts on the fire, and he says to himself, I wish you wouldn't ask me to do it. I got things to do. And finally brings him a glass of tea. He asks another son. And the son says, Dad, you want a glass of tea? My pleasure. My pleasure. And he runs to the kitchen with enthusiasm, with love. He wants to do not only that, he watches his father having the tea, and he enjoys every sip that the father is taking. And at the end he says, Dad, can I maybe give you another glass of tea? Or maybe there's something else that you want? That's the love, and that's the first one also gave him, but it's not the same. How did the father feel? When he got this kind of, it wasn't really hot tea. Maybe it was more cold tea that he received. And the second son gave it to him with enthusiasm, with love. Almighty God wants the kavanah of the mitzvah. As a matter of fact, we see many stories. It's not that sometimes the kavanah is what was more important. That sometimes the Jew didn't even do it right. He didn't do it right because he didn't know better. But it was the kavanah that was important. The enthusiasm that was important. The love that was important. And this is now we can understand. Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami, it's one comfort. But the comfort is a double one. Begashmias uveluchnias. Physically and spiritually. And where do you know that now? If we learn the Yalkut Shemini inside, we understand what he's saying. You want to know where we take the concept of double from a mitzvah. The mitzvahs are double. It doesn't mean it's two mitzvahs, that every time you do a mitzvah, you do it 2 times. You can't make a bracha on the Esrog 2 times. You're not allowed to. It could be a bracha levatola. But it's a double mitzvah. It's the physical part of the mitzvah and the spiritual part of the mitzvah. And now we understand, because the mitzvahs are double. Gashmias and Uknias, the physical and the spiritual, the mundane and the spiritual. Then the comfort is one comfort. It's a comfort begashmias and it's a comfort beluchnias. And then the Rebbe brings also from the Yalkut Shemini that the Yalkut Shemini says, Nachamu, Nachamu Ami. The ayin can also be read Nachamu, Nachamu Imi. The punctuation, the pronunciation is Ami. However, you can also that's when you put a pasach under the ayin. You can put a chilik under the ayin. In Hebrew, it's pasach psucho or pasach chaluko. Whether it's a ayin a pasach under the ayin, or it's a chilik under the ayin. What is the difference? If it's a pasach, we say ami. If it's a chilik, we say imi. Ami means my people. Imi means with me. Because Knesset Yisrael says, Almighty God sends the Nevi'im to comfort the Jewish people. And the response from Knesset Yisrael, from the Jewish people, is Eineni misnachemes midivrei hanevim. I do not feel comfortable from the comfort of the Nevi'im. I was so hurt, I was so punished, that sending the Nevi'im to comfort me doesn't do it. In America, you would say it doesn't cut it. Eineni misnachemes midivrei hanevim. I'm not comforted from what they are saying. So Almighty God says to the Nevi'im, Nachamu, Nachamu, Imi. Nachamu, you come. Nachamu, I come. Imi, with me. Beu, Imi, unenachameno. Come with me, Almighty God says to the Nevi'im. And together, Imi, and together, we will comfort it. We will comfort the Jewish people. Rabbi say, our generation, with everything we went through, especially in this period, needs comfort. And now is the season of comfort. Nachamu, Nachamu Ami, Nachamu, Nachamu Imi. Almighty God says to the Nevi'im, come with me, and we are going to comfort the Jewish people. After everything we went through, what we need now is the Geula Ha'amitis V'Ashlemo. Mitzvah Chvulis, Nechamei Chvulis. We just said, the Rebbe brings that the Beis HaMikdash is a double structure, a physical structure and a spiritual structure. Nechamei Chvulis, it should be on Nechama Begashmias and on Nechama Beluchnias. The real Nechama is if you give the Jew back Yerushalayim and you give him back the Beis HaMikdash. Yes, you're going to tell him you're going to leave him in this world and things are going to become better. We heard that. But that's not enough. Now we want Nechamei Seoch Fulis, a double Nechama, a Beis HaMikdash Begashmias and a Beis HaMikdash Beluchnias. And the Rebbe promised us that we are the last generation of Golus and the first generation of Geula. And we should see altogether, take it from Miyad Mamish, the Geula Hamitis V'Hashlemu. ובעגולו דידנו, ושמחו ובטוב לבוב, ובטבע נילה והניגלה, ולמטה מעשרות טפוחים, ובחסד ובלחמים, ותקף, ומיד ממש.